Today we're going to talk about how to determine the pH of a solution after you add base to a buffer. So in this problem we have half a gram of sodium hydroxide that's being added to 700 mils of our buffer. We need to know how many moles are in half a gram of sodium hydroxide. So we do the calculation and find out the number of moles of sodium hydroxide. Now we're going to do a stoichiometry problem for the reaction of sodium hydroxide with ascorbic acid. This reaction happens and it gives us sodium ascorbate and water. The water comes from the hydroxide reacting with the proton from the ascorbic acid, and the ascorbate is formed from the ascorbic acid after it lost its proton. We might have written the product as sodium ascorbate, but in this reaction I've written it as ascorbate and sodium separately. So now we're going to figure out the number of moles of ascorbic acid and the number of moles of ascorbate, and luckily the number of moles of sodium hydroxide are less than the number of moles of ascorbic acid. So when the reaction happens, and this reaction goes to completion since sodium hydroxide is a strong base, we're going to use up all of the moles of sodium hydroxide, and that's going to use up some of the ascorbic acid, and it's going to give us a larger amount of ascorbate. I didn't pay attention to the moles of sodium because it's a spectator ion in the sense that it doesn't influence the pH of a buffer solution because it's neutral. At the end of this reaction, I have 0 moles of sodium hydroxide left, a smaller number of moles of ascorbic acid, and a larger number of moles of ascorbate. Now I can proceed with the buffer calculation. I'm writing the reaction for ionization of ascorbic acid with water to give ascorbate, and I'm going to use the number of moles that I just calculated in my stoichiometry problem. I will combine this information with the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation and plugging in the numbers for ascorbic acid's pKa and the number of moles of conjugate base and acid, I can figure out the final pH of this solution after doing the math, and I get the pH is 4.41.